My name is Brianna. I was the leader for Group 1 for the bomb calorimeter for next week. So just to outline my PowerPoint, I wanted to start with the introduction and then the theory of the bomb calorimeter, and then go into the apparatus of what it looks like, and then the experiment procedure, and then what I think the predicted results will be, and then the sources of error that could happen. So as an introduction, the oxygen calorimeter is designed to measure heat given off by the combustion of solid or liquid samples in the oxygen bomb. So since the formation, the oxygen bomb type calorimeter has been accepted as the standard for accurate measurements for many heats of combustion. So combustion is one of the most important chemical reactions in today's energy-seeking world. And then the heat given off during this reaction is called the heat of combustion, and the amount of heat corresponding to a unit mass of the fuel is called the heating value. And then the two terms of higher heating value, HHV, and then the lower heating value, LHV, are used to distinguish in which water is in the combustion products is either a liquid or gaseous. And then the objective of this experiment was to become familiar with the physical principles, procedures, and techniques that are associated with the oxygen bomb calorimeter. Then to determine the thermal capacitance of the calorimeter and to determine the gross heat of combustion of these samples. So the theory behind all this, so the heat of combustion may be broadly defined as the amount of heat units given off by a unit of mass when combusted with oxygen with a constant volume, so not changing the volume. And then upon ignition, this heat given off is transferred to the surrounding water through the heat conduction. And the rise in water temperature can be used to calculate the amount of heat given off by the combustion material. And then the first law of thermodynamics is the basis for the experiment with the equation Q equals mCv equals times delta T. If the calorimeter, everything except the fuel, is chosen as a system, then the equation can be rewritten as the mCv of the calorimeter equals Q over delta T. And then when an unknown fuel sample is burned, the heat of combustion is Q equals mCv of the calorimeter times delta T again. So Q is the heat of combustion of the fuel sample and the ignition wire. No matter which equation you use, you are required to account for the ignition wire each time. And the mCv is the thermal capacitance of the calorimeter, and the delta T is just the change in the rise of the temperature. So for the apparatus, the calorimeter, the whole thing on the left, it had different parts. They're all labeled. So you have the igniter, the stainless steel bomb, the laptop, which you would connect to run your data, the analog to digital converter, a water bucket used to hold the bomb, a thermocouple to measure the change in the temperature, and the water stirred motor. Then for the actual bomb on the right was the lid, which had the inlet check valve, the pressure relief valve, the electrode terminals, the crucible to hold the fuel sample, and then two electrodes, one with the holder for the crucible, and then the ignition wires connecting the two electrodes. And then you also had the housing and the lid locker ring to make sure it's tight and not leaking. So for the experiment, for the experimental procedure, you had 6 different main parts of the whole experiment. So with the bomb preparation, there were a lot of main steps that were too much to talk about in 6 minutes. So the main key part of that was just to carefully follow all the lab instructions step by step, so you are making sure not to avoid any improper preparation, which can cause tampered data or potential damage to the actual lab experiment. So then for the water jacket preparation, you would add 2 kilograms of water at room temperature for the water bucket. And then the instrumentation preparation, you would start up the computer and run the program, and then connect the thermocouple to the data acquisition system. And then while you were doing each step, these can be done simultaneously. And then for the assembly, you would lower the bomb into the bucket and watch closely for new bubbles forming, which indicates leaking. And then you would, to ensure the proper connection of the electrical wire to the bomb, as well as place the drive belt around the motor pulley and the stir pulley, which is just a rubber band. And then for the experiment, you would start and log the room temperature for 2 minutes, and then after 2 minutes, you would ignite the fuel and allow the system to come to equilibrium, which could take several minutes. And then you would stop logging the data once the equilibrium has been reached. And then for the shutdown, you would just make sure everything's turned off and put up properly and put away.
The play button.
Yeah. So for my predicted results, I predicted that different fuels would result in different thermal capacitances. And then I thought there would be a steady water temperature until the combustion occurs, and that it would have more of an instant reaction in the temperature, not a steady increase, that there would be multiple spikes and not just a steady incline. And then more fuel may result in a higher temperature rise and a higher temperature rise. And then this is the equation that you would use to calculate the thermal capacitances. And then for the sources of error, there were plenty of them, especially in the outline procedure. So you could add too much fuel and damage the calorimeter. You could not allow for the water to reach equilibrium before and or after the combustion. And then an improper assembly of the calorimeter, like not looking for bubbles during the assembly and allowing for a leak to occur. And then allowing that to run too long after ignition, and then that would mess with the calculations if the temperature begins to fall. So yeah.
Any questions?
Whenever we go to make the calculations, do we have to account for the amount of heat that the stirrer is adding to the water? Or no?
I'm not entirely sure, but I think so. I didn't have time to do the calculations, so I'll do that there. Yeah.
The purpose of the stir, can you go over that again?
The first of what?
The purpose of the stir.
Oh, the water motor, the water stir motor. That's the stir the water and the motor. Yeah. Okay.
Thank you, Brianna.